opening up. Here we go. Woohoo! Ready to roll. Woohoo. Admit all. 9 o'clock. Got somebody that dialed in. Look at there. Great to see everyone. Love our Tuesday mornings. Woohoo! Look, Linda, we haven't seen you for a while. Yay. Okay, you're muted, but good to see you.
I'm glad to be back.
Oh, and we're glad to have you back. I love it.
There we go. I've been busy. Sorry, I've been out. I'm here now.
You know what? That is so awesome, because that's just the sign of the times. You know, there is so much happening, and that's exciting. A really great segue for me to say I'm flying solo today because Kim is really busy.
She's on travel someplace, isn't she?
You know what? She wasn't able to. Yeah, because
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So really sad, and our hearts go out to everyone in Florida right now. So
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and you start to see some of the images, and it's just devastating. So Kyle, wow, hi Kyle. Haven't seen you for a while. How
Yeah,
you
happy to be
doing?
here.
Good?
Yeah, drone soccer's really taken off. It's exciting. Lots of great student programs, and yeah, excited to connect here. We're wondering if anybody has recommendations for a young, motivated media intern or outreach intern, someone to help us reach out to girls and minority programs. So if anybody has recommendations, we're looking for nominees.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So can you put your information into the chat, so that way if somebody does have somebody they can recommend or reach out to you?
Is that something that can be done remotely, or does it need to be near you?
No, absolutely remotely. I mean, our team is here in Colorado, but no, remote is great. And yeah, we're here to support, Dr. Renee and all of her great work.
Oh, we're super excited to have her here too. Awesome. So look at everybody coming in here. A lot of people are here to hear what Renee has to say today. So, but really quick, like before I segue into that, I actually have some really cool news today. So I'm pretty excited to be the one to put this out there. So really quick, I'm going to back off. Reminder, I am flying solo, so I'll do my best to be managing everything in here, keeping an eye on the doorbell for who's at the door. But we get to be the first to announce that the Women to Watch Global Awards is here, and it's expanded. Woo-hoo! Oh my gosh, I'm super excited. So Women in Emerging Aviation Technologies Award, and it will be coming up January 5th through the 7th, 2023. We are going to be back at CES in Las Vegas. Isn't that amazing? Come on, let's give it up. Come on, you guys get excited for that one, right? That is so cool. So, but we do need your help. Okay. So there is, let me get my page back up here. So where we need your help, we need you to participate in this. We have nominations that will close October 25th. So there's a lot of new categories in it. And so I'm going to give you a link that takes you to the awards page. I will also give you a link to the flyer that has the various categories. So it's kind of cool that it's expanded this way. And then the press release, all kinds of great stuff. I'm super excited. You know, we've all been waiting, and it's such an amazing program. I mean, we love that we get an opportunity to recognize that women are doing amazing things in the industry, right? So I'm going to go ahead and post all of those fantastic links. I'm going to give you a minute so that you could actually right click on them and open them up, right? Yeah. So we really do need you to participate. All right. So that would be fantastic. All right. So thank you, Kyle. Got that information in there as well. So if you wanted to reach out to Kyle, he put his information in there. Wow, what a great networking day. I love this. So with that, I am not going to blab on any longer because we have an amazing speaker. I'm going to go ahead and put her up as a spotlight here in a second, and I'll let her introduce herself after I let a couple people in. Hold on, let's get these people in here because everybody wants to come and talk to Renee, right? So bring this up. So a lot of people already know Renee, but Renee Welch is the CEO of Drone Grantology. I think that's probably why a lot of you are here, right? She supports diversity or diverse organizations that range from public safety, STREAM, and various other programs, ranging from nonprofit organizations to for-profit entities that deliver UAS and AAM products, services, and programs. So with that, I am going to turn it over to you, Renee, and thank you so much for joining us here today on the Coffee Connection. There we go. All right, so 1, Renee, you're muted. 2, we see the whole presentation. So
I'm gonna go on
there
back.
we go. Now we hear you. All good.
Yes. All right. I'm just all excited. I'm looking at all of my family and friends that are joining.
See, and isn't that great? We are family and friends. We love it.
Yes.
Look
How
at
about
that.
now? You got
Oh,
me?
we can hear you a little bit quiet, but we can hear you. And I love that image you got right there.
Look at that. Everyone always asks me for an action shot, and I send them a picture of me behind the computer. So this time I thought I would wake you up with me, and what I see some mornings when I get up. So this is my action shot. Watch out, Linda. I'm working on things. So listen, everybody, thanks for joining. Just wanted to get together and throw out a couple of tips for you that I've picked up in the last, I'll say 90 days, and including what I've learned from talking to colleagues at the most recent commercial UAV expo that was here not too long ago in Vegas. So grant prep, prepare, research, engage, and produce successful funding proposals. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That should be our motto, right? For preparation during grants season. And it's always grants season. So if you make your organization ready to apply for funding, then you'll be ready and on the right track to embrace the whole grant writing process. But first, I want to share some tips. You've got to first determine if your organization is competitive in this race for funding. You've also got to make sure that your organization is the right fit for the right funding opportunity and that you have everything that you need. This is crucial. So I'll get us started and say, in this competitive race, we got to stay in ready mode. So on your marks, get ready, set. And as we say, Kyle, drone up, go, right? Uh-oh, here we go. Oh, great. It's not moving, hold on. Boom.
That's Murphy. There you go.
There we go. So I'm Renee Welch, and I am the CEO and the Chief Grantologist at Drone Grantology. I'm an all-in-one grants management agency, and most recently, my focus has really been on helping organizations to create a diversified funding stream. It's not only about grants, it's about being able to fund and sustain your program. So right now, a lot of the UAV and AAM innovation remains undersourced. So really, I exist to help agencies and organizations like yourself find available funding resources as you either develop, expand, or scale your products and services. What I mean by that is some are just starting out and you are looking to develop proposals, your backgrounds, your plans, your products, and your services Others are already up and running and they're looking to expand out regionally. I'll use the example of the Las Vegas Metro Police, for instance. For a little while, they were really the only first responder team down here. So they were always interested. Oh, shout out to Dave Martell, in expanding out to other agencies versus Kyle. Kyle is looking to scale drone soccer across the world, US and internationally, right? We're looking to get this on the road. So it just depends on where you are. But I'm here also because the whole donor risk outlook has become so conservative. So, and a lot of their rules haven't changed, although the times have changed. So you got to make sure that you have diversified funding streams and that you can create, I'm going to say, creative funding plans that help you to create impact and a return on investment. That's what it's all about. Grant writing is only part of that funding life cycle. So just like we always talk about, a drone is a, so is a grant. It's a means to an end. It's money awarded so that an organization or an entity can achieve a goal or a purpose. But remember, it's not only about the money. Think about it. Funders aren't giving money just because you want it or you need it. They're giving it so that you can carry out the mission, right? It gives to, for instance, workforce development, STEM initiatives. So it's not just about chasing dollars. It's really about cultivating funder relationships. I call it funder relationships. Stay tuned for that course. And really finding the right fits and being able to sustain your programs. All right, how about this one? I wanted to start with on your marks. This is our preparation phase. So I love this. Thousands of proposals. No one used the format. Step one, prepare. Before you even apply for a grant, there are a couple of critical pieces that you have to prepare for. Things such as organizational materials, tax documents, financial information, any governance information you may have. If you're a nonprofit, that could be work that your board of directors has engaged in. Program or project information. If you have a strategic plan or a business plan, yes, amazing. If you have a grant team and a calendar, yes, amazing. If you have any grant policies or procedures in place, amazing. If not, those are things that you can definitely learn how to do. But first, I just want to clue you in on preparation. Many of my friends on this Coffee Connect like the big dollars. You like the federal grants, for instance. That comes with a lot of requirements, and in some cases, we are talking 100 pages just for the instructions by themselves. So as a reminder, before you go to apply for a grant, the System for Award Management is also known as SAM. Make sure that you are in SAM, that you're registered, you're able to log on, that you have your employer identification number, that EIN number, what used to be the DUNS, now it's the UEI, the unique identifier that the government has put in place. Make sure that whatever registration you need to do, some of the agencies also want you to register. Make sure all of that is out of the way. Step two, make sure you're eligible. You have to be eligible. I don't know what to say. My heart goes out to those organizations and businesses that I connect with that have innovative and amazing products and services, but for the particular pot of money that's out at a time, they don't necessarily meet the criteria for eligibility. And friends and family, it's not my criteria. I wish I could let you in the gate, but normally as a grant reviewer, when you don't meet the eligibility criteria and you submit a grant, it is automatically kicked out before it even gets to a grant writer. Did you know that? All right, All right, I'm going to keep going. So make sure that you're all registered. Sometimes even pre-application requirements alone can take 2 to 3 weeks, depending on if you're a team of one or a larger team where maybe there are other approvals and management sign-offs and so forth. I'm kind of zooming through this because I want to be able to open up and get to questions and talking. And by the way, because I see who I see, I'm going to ask if you have any lessons learned. This is not just about the sage on the stage here. Me as the expert, please share any lessons learned in the chat. I'm keeping up with them because I'm creating a grants repository. So I want to be able to come back and be able to present funding sources, creative funding models. So if you have any lessons learned, I would love to add it. All right. This refers to eligibility. The grant world is opening up, and many of the, especially in the federal space and the state area, many are finally realizing that more than charitable organizations offer solutions. So they're open to government organizations such as state, county, your cities or townships, tribal governments, for instance, are also included in that area. I'm going to include bids and contracts also under this category. Then you got your educational organizations like your charter schools, independent districts, any institutions of higher ed, and like your public and state institutions. So many of those fall under the 501 category. I'm even going to say faith-based organizations as well. You also have public housing organizations. These are all the folks that you are competing against, depending on what the grant opportunity is. Nonprofit organizations. These are the charitable organizations that have that 501 designation with the IRS. For-profit organizations. These are those organizations other than small businesses. Of course, you have small businesses, and there are some grants out for individuals. And individuals can't submit on their own. I mean, you can only submit on your own behalf, not on behalf of a company or an organization or institution or government. And you have to register for these and create profiles basically for these funding opportunities. In case you didn't know, that's a FYI. All right, I'm moving fast. This next phase is all about the get ready. On your marks, get ready. This is about researching. You've got the amazing product, service, idea, but those folks over there on the other side have the money and the potential funding opportunity that you're looking for. So again, I can't overstate learning the eligibility requirements and whatever the regulations are that you have to comply with. If a grant is not out yet, go back and look at the previous grantees, right? Go back and look at an old grant. It'll give you some insight into the actual grant application and what might be required. Here's a big one. You have to understand the needs of the grantor. Behind every funding opportunity, behind every grant program, there is some intent, some mission, some philosophy, or some law that's connected. So these things help to guide the distribution of money, and they provide a really clear view of how to approach the application. So you've got to pay attention to the funding opportunity and the funder, and you've got to be able to show how resourceful you are in meeting the needs that was put out in one of the notices or funding opportunities. For those of you who've already written grants and been successful, sometimes when you recycle a grant, use it. Use the constraints of the grant opportunity that you're working on to rethink pieces of your project. So don't be afraid to get in there. It might cause you to reach out to an additional partner. It may cause you to think about another phase of your work. I'm gonna say stay ready and keep in mind the present to maybe 2 years, 2 to 3 years down the line when you're thinking about grants and funding. I want to encourage you to take a look too. For instance, grants.gov, they have a list of grant making agencies, right? So I think it's 15 or 20 of them. I just encourage you to do a little research, get innovative, think outside of the box. You never know. Our only buckets of funding are not in the Department of Transportation only, FEMA and the FAA. So get a little creative, take a look at the grant making agencies, and you might want to get familiar if you're interested in, for instance, the federal grants and some of the grant making systems. So those are those things that you have to log into and register for, depending on the agency that you're working for. So SAM is only one of those, for instance. So reach out there. Another tidbit, the Council on Foundations. Most of you who are maybe beginning or looking for, as I've heard you refer to it, the small money, that might be a grant that's under $50,000, for instance. Check out the Council on Foundations because they have a community foundation locator, and you can put your community or your area in. I probably should have had links for you all, but I thought I would be doing too much to do all of that. But Council on Foundations, Community Foundation Locator. That's a part of your researcher. What's that other, the directory of foundations? Sometimes when you're looking for background information, because remember I said we don't chase the money. We make sure that we have a fit plan, and then we find the money based on the solution that we are providing. So sometimes you'll actually want to do some information and some background on a foundation grant, a corporation, and all of that is public knowledge. So this is your get ready and research phase. Are you with me? I can't see everybody's faces. Thumbs up.
So I'm going to put a link to that last one. I found the one that you would, oh, Samantha's already got it too. So
All right, everybody's on it. I appreciate your family and friends helping me out in that chat box while I am running my mouth. All right, now we're in the get set stage. So on your marks, get ready, get set. This is the stage where we engage. Now I actually grabbed this from Police One, since a lot of the public safety agencies look to this particular resource. And I wanted to make a point here with the percentage of time that falls under preparation versus the application part, right? So in the grant prep, you're identifying the problem, the solution, you're collecting data. I would actually move a couple of things up depending on the organizations that I'm working with. For instance, engaging community members, stakeholders, and potential partners takes time. Sometimes it takes time to cultivate. Sometimes it takes time to even explain an opportunity that you'd like to explore. So I would kind of put that up top in your grant preparation. 9 times out of 10, you will have already, through either your strategic plan or your business plan, you will have already identified your problem and the solution, and you'll have some type of management and staff attached along with a budget. So I say put your partners and stakeholders, that engagement up front. These days, in a lot of the proposals, they're not just looking for a letter of support. Back in the day when I was a grant reviewer, tons of letters would come in and they would be on somebody's letterhead and they'd say how wonderful the person is, never had anything to do with the project or the actual service or need. It almost appeared to be, you know, a friend with letterhead. So these days, the funders are looking for secure letters of commitment, memorandums of understanding, and not exactly partnership agreements, but they want to see the value that your partner is bringing. Remember, what you're doing is going to create impact, and return on investment, return on expectation. And so they're looking for partners that have committed, whether that's financially, with through talent, or whatever it is that you're connecting with. Woo. Okay, I'm just checking. Any
So we
thoughts or
actually,
questions?
Renee, we
Okay.
do actually have a couple questions
All
and some
right.
conversations going on in the chat.
All
So,
right.
Carolyn actually has done some grant work before. Actually, it looks like several different times. So, per the question, if you want to maybe throw some tidbits in there, Carolyn, that would be great. Also, Jillian is enjoying the information because you are fantastic. Anna did ask a question about, we're talking to a high school to develop a drone class. Any awareness for secondary educational grants for high schools?
School grants are definitely out there. I would look to your state boards of education. Look towards your, okay, let me use the example here. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology. That's the office at the state that holds science and innovation, technology programs, sometimes like charter schools and STEM schools or STEM programs. So whatever that equivalent would be in your state, usually again, under the governor's office or the state board of ed, they usually hold dollars, some dollars at least as well, part of the state or the public school system. So they're out there. In terms of STEM, my big tip is to backdoor this thing. Don't just go out there and Google or look for STEM grants. Think about each letter. And I'm going to take you to STREAM, STREAM. A number of you have heard me mention that before. That's science, technology, reading. That's still a topic. And a big one and a major one in terms of standards. Engineering, aviation, and aerospace. That's the A2, A squared, and then the M for math. So also look to grants that might be in those areas. I don't know. I've got a lot of innovative friends and potential clients, and you never know. I just, someone recently told me we looked up a literacy grant, a school as a matter of fact. So they're actually applying for a literacy grant. And of course they're integrating drones. You'd be surprised. It's definitely science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm looking at Kyle for a woo woo because drone soccer fits under all of those, for instance. So robotics and things of that nature. That makes sense? I want you to keep in mind too, that we've got a couple of different buckets of money. Federal, state, private, dollars for public safety, humanitarian programs. Think about the hours you have to put in also in terms of getting ready. Like sometimes for federal grants, depending on who I'm working with, and it's always a collaborative effort with you as the subject matter expert. But keep in mind, it sometimes takes anywhere from 40 to 100 hours on a federal grant. Depends on how big, how much you're going for, and exactly what you're coming to the table with. And I'm including work with partners, for instance, and stakeholders in that. State, depending on the agency, could be anywhere from 10 to 30 or 40 hours of work. The private grants vary. And I'm noticing also a big call for letters of intent now or concept papers. Get your business use cases together and get your use cases together, even if you are a vendor, if you're for profit, for instance, and you're a vendor with your municipality or your city or your state, get your business use cases together. Some of the grants, depending on the corporation, are doing the online submittal, and it's maybe 2 or 3 pages long. right? Again, usually for something that may be under $50,000. They're looking for your organizational information, the demographics of the target audience that you'll be working with, any financial information they may ask for. And then basically the rest is the narrative, the need, the solution, what's your work plan, and your way of evaluating success or your KPIs, performance indicators. All
Awesome.
right.
So there's a couple more comments that have popped up into the
Yes.
chat.
Okay.
Samantha has said about she's been working with organizations like the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club. Would we use the same process? Yes.
Yes. Yes, and it's
Okay.
probably pretty much the same process that they use. We know for a fact, and for the most part, the Boys and Girls Club have definitely applied for and received successful funding in their history. So unless it's for a new program, but yep, pretty much the same information. And in that case, depending on if your entity is a for-profit and you're partnering with an agency that's your fiscal partner as well, right? Then yes, they have to have all of this. The agency that's submitting is who holds all of this that you see on the screens. But in partnership, I'm assuming would definitely be collaborating in terms of your work plan, who takes what, and even in terms of the budget.
Awesome. Awesome. So also shout out to Kyle because he said that Dr. Renee has helped us apply for the FAA Pilot Workforce Development Grant. And hopefully, and that's in English and Spanish, and hopefully that'll be there in the next month or two. Woohoo, that's good. Awesome. Love that. And then also Kyle shared some information in there and a link. So if anybody's interested, Kyle just shared a fantastic link in there for a quick STEM grant for teachers. So thank you for sharing that, Kyle. That's great as well. Jill didn't want to be disrespectful, but she had to jump off. Looks like Dennis also said, have 3 interested professor friends at New School of Architectural and Design. And that's at the Maricosta College. Go Maricosta. Okay, sorry. The foundation cannot directly buy equipment for the college. So is that, I don't know, maybe Dennis, are you asking for maybe a solution or maybe some opportunities that Renee would be able to maybe offer for you?
Yeah, so I have gathered interest up at New School, which is in East Village, downtown San Diego, and also talked to a couple of people in the lab over at Maricosta in Oceanside. And both are very interested, and both colleges have a foundation. New School is a private school, obviously Maricosta is a public college. So 2 different things, but both of those foundations are not really allowed to directly buy the drones and the scoring stuff for the colleges. And then depending on the foundation, they may not be able to pay the professors or whatever. So the grants could really come in handy to get drone soccer going at the college level here in San Diego. So that's, I've talked to people and they're interested, but nobody has the money. So the grant is the thing, right? To get the money.
Yes, I'm going to say, Kyle, Dennis, on the phone soon.
There you go.
Yes.
Connect.
There we go. Yes.
That's what we're
Yes,
all
yes.
about, making connections.
Yes.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
don't forget, Dennis, I would say sponsors as well. Remember, I was saying that diversified funding stream means we got to go beyond grants only. Grants should only be a portion of your incoming revenue. You got to think of something that generates revenue. Maybe it's donors, maybe it's fundraisers, depending on your entity. But yeah, sponsors also offer.
As you know, college students, they don't have a lot of money, but
right.
If we could get them to maybe pay the $100 a year for the membership in the association or whatever, some kind of a small fee, something that a college student could afford, that of course is not much. So
Okay, that's
Thank you
something
very much.
we should talk about for sure. And I know Kyle has also learned some creative funding models based on some of the teams and schools that are a part even of US Drone Soccer. So we'll have to set that meeting up. Dennis, my information, I think I front loaded it at the top. So definitely, let's find a way to talk more.
Can I share something, Dr. Renee?
Yes.
So when we're talking about drones, a lot of people say STEM, and it's important to understand that there's all different types of funding within education, and STEM typically falls under like small discretionary budgets that the teachers have, or the school is paying for, and their budgets are pretty small. But at the district and university level, there are huge pots of money available for technology education, for workforce development, for career skills training. There's all different, categories that drones can fall under. So if we, think about, students flying drones in a classroom, that may be a pretty limited view, whereas preparing students for Part 107 and industry experience, that is whole different applications, including, Build Back Better, workforce development grants. There were adult education, upskilling grants that, a ton of these live at the city. So, to broaden a little bit, if we think about drones as professional education, that really opens up the funding that's available.
Yes, I couldn't have put that better. And don't forget, lead with that innovation that Kyle is talking about. The drone is definitely a tool, but lead with that. I'm going to share just a couple of grants that are up and coming and out there, but yes, that is thinking outside of the box. Workforce development, programs for veterans, for instance, programs that you might see at a Goodwill, something like that, a Salvation Army, high schools, private schools. So definitely, thank you for that, Kyle. Lastly, we're in the go phase. This really represents producing and presenting a fundable document. What I mean by that is once you've created your template, it becomes a framework for you submitting to other agencies. And if you'd like to take the challenge and start with the federal grant, that's one of the larger ones, then you'll really have a framework for what the state is asking, what a corporate grant may ask you for, or a private foundation. Really what they're all looking for is the need. What are the existing problems that require a solution that you bring? What kind of relevant data can you bring to support that versus just saying it? So research is big in identifying the need. What is your program description? And how does your program or product or service address the existing need? How are the outcomes measured? They always want to know about organizational capacity. Back in the day, I would often see a lot of, for instance, educational grants and mentoring programs and sports programs. And they may say we're going to service 500 kids in the next year. And then you go down to staffing, there would be 2 people in a church basement with 1 computer. So definitely want to know, do you have the experience and the capacity to address the need? If you've ran something similar or done something before, definitely the place to include it. They definitely want to know about this financial request and how you'll be using the funds. How will you be accountable? Since COVID, donors and funders have really been pretty conservative, and they've been honing in on sustainability. And we don't get to say anymore, well, how are you going to fund this next year? I'm going to look for another grant. That's not guaranteed. So they are looking for plans that you can either continue on, or that you have a plan to do so, or that maybe you're engaging with different partners that bring different things to the table. If your funding ends, they want to know that you can continue and that you have some type of plan for diversifying revenues. I don't know, partnerships in the community, whatever it is you can bring to the table. I've actually seen them also asking about diversity and equity plans. depending on the grant. And that goes beyond just who your target population is. That could either mean in-house with your management or your teams, depending on what you're applying for. I don't know. Right now, it's open for interpretation. Nobody's able to give me an answer, as I said on some of the funding webinars. Interesting. Next. All right, just really briefly. A lot of you asked, how does this thing work? How does this work? How does it go? Grant writing really is kind of a mix between, I'm going to say, a little bit of creative and a little bit of the technical, but you're really just responding to the questions and providing like a comprehensive view according to the requirements that are listed in the grant notice, right? One of the most important parts is upfront. It's really assessing and researching. So making sure that your organization can do what it says and researching those funders. We've got to be able to find a fit. I often say once you've created a framework, then you can apply for several grants. I often recommend that you do that. Apply for one and then try to shoot out 2 or 3 others. Make sure that you're estimating the right time for design, which is the writing. That's what I call the design. Sometimes I say you are designing a story, depending on who the funder is. There's a grant out with Sony right now, the Sony Action Grant. That's more of a storytelling type of application versus some of the state or the federal. Make sure you have time for review. Whoever that is, whether I'm in the position to review, whether you need your partners to review, or other stakeholders at your company. And then finally, devote at least 2 or 3 days to submitting the grant. If you can do it ahead of time, then you are ahead of the game. All right, these are no secret. Many of you have connected with me somehow, and these are the grants that we've been talking about lately. Obviously, the infrastructure inspection grant, the money is coming, and that's 200 million. 100 million is devoted to infrastructure, bridges, roads, transportation, railways, decreasing emissions and traffic and so forth. The other 100 mil is for workforce development and education. We'll be on the lookout for that one. You've got your smart cities grants that are coming out for those of you who are familiar. I can do a whole session, Desi, on that one. That is some good stuff coming out. And I'm happy to say I'm actually finishing up the certificate with Syracuse on smart cities, digital technologies, and the integration of drones. And it got me on the drone team. So I can't wait to bring that information back to you also.
I love smart cities.
Yes.
Anytime we talk smart cities, I love it.
That's it, and really a place to look to. I'll say check out your cities if you haven't, strategic plans. Check those out and see where smart cities live. Also, the Department of Navy and the Departments of Defense are another place to look at for STEM and career pipelines and workforce, and a lot of what Kyle mentioned, CTE. Take a look. One in particular focuses on HBCUs, historically Black colleges and minority institutions. And then there's one, and this is a government grant, federal grant, racial equity in STEM education. This is through the National Science Foundation. So again, these will give you a chance to just kind of see some of the language out, some of the criteria that's out. Whenever you're looking at funding instructions, you want to look at what's required and then go on and jump onto the criteria and how they're grading. It even tells you what they weight each section when you're dealing with grants like this. They're usually, I'll say, upwards to 500,000, and SMART grants will be more than that. And then often I talk to some of the folks here that are small businesses or just starting, or you may even have a successful for-profit business in the UAS space and you're creating a nonprofit. So then there are other programs to look for. Institutions that do research, great partners. That's another area that I'm seeing that's needed. You know, it's one thing to say, I know that something will work. It's another thing to have outcomes and research to back it. So that's also pretty major.
So I think that that's a good place to kind of talk a little bit more about Sam. Her question in the chat was, are grants only nonprofit, and do small businesses even have a chance?
Yes, yes, you do. A lot of the small businesses either fall under, I find, kind of the operations and behind the scenes, like some of the grants after COVID, or some of the different loans, or if you're a minority owned business or a woman owned business. But you do stand a chance. Again, it just depends on the solution that you can provide. I'll say states, at the state level, locally, look at your infrastructure plan, look at the strategic plans. Take a look at some of the federal grants. If you have the solution that meets the need that is being focused on, then yes, and the criteria is open to a for-profit, then you do stand a chance. So it depends on what it is that you're working on, what your solution is.
Awesome, awesome. So Sheila also had put something into our chat, offering a little bit of advice. So I'm wondering if she's gone through the process and should be sharing a little bit too regarding the question that you had asked, Renee. But be prepared to track every dollar. Grant reporting is time consuming and needs to be consideration prior to applying for the grant. And so I was kind of feeling that way just as far as preparing for a grant, and I'm thinking, boy, you're worth your weight in gold, Renee.
Yes, that is a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. In the past, I'm going to say since the expo, I've had this done to me. If you can see this from the public safety agencies, they say, we do stuff with our hands. We don't, these hands aren't for writing grants, they save lives. Everybody kept doing this to me, right? Look at it. So that's all about maintaining and managing, and like you said, doing reporting. You've got to not only keep track of the fiscal responsibilities, but also your milestones and your benchmarks. You never know what a funder may ask you. So no, that point is right on target. All right, how am I on time? We're getting down there. Couple more questions.
Yeah, we're doing really good. And so just coming about 10 minutes to the top of the hour.
All right.
So we're right on track.
Got something.
I do got another question just popped up really quick before. I don't know if you're going to
Yes.
go to another slide, but there is financial aid and narrative reporting required for QTR quarter and final yearly reports also. Oh, so, okay. So Sheila is just kind of, so obviously she's been through it. She's, you know, kind of put that input in there for you that you were asking for.
Perfect.
I worked on the state side that reviewed everything and also had to submit to the feds. So yeah, it's no joke. They're tracking everything. You better track everything. You better have a narrative. You better move the money around. It's daunting. So be prepared prior to submitting, because getting the money and then saying, oops, it's not a good outcome.
Yes, yes. You've got to
Be accountable.
You have to be accountable.
Yeah.
But you don't have another choice. Now, for those of you who are, again, a team of one, that looks a little different. I urge you to get tools that help you along the way, whether it can be as basic as a spreadsheet, as you adding this to your calendar, you know, quarterly check-ins, to all the way to the larger companies that are collecting data. So yes, that's a major part. It's really grant funding is a part of resource development. So by rights, these are things that you should be collecting anyway. They also still help you to develop a case for support. It keeps you kind of in tune with your budget and what things actually cost. Sometimes I see people underbid for things. You want to keep your eye on what it actually costs. Oh, the other thing I've noticed with some of the grants too, when they put the funding announcements out, often, at least on the federal side, they'll tell how many grants they are awarding for that particular notice. So this could mean that you may get a partial grant and not full funding. Be ready for that also. Keep in mind, like even Kyle mentioned earlier, we applied for that grant back in June or something, I don't May. Often enough, you're still waiting. So if you are sitting and waiting and your program or product or service cannot be put out there because you're waiting for the grant, then something's wrong. All right.
Awesome.
So,
Really quick, like I just wanted to do
yes.
a shout out. Sherry had made a comment as well regarding she's in Philadelphia and she's looking to do some youth programs, middle school, high school, and focusing on the drone soccer there, Kyle. So she's appreciating the information. There it is. All right.
Everybody,
This
this
is
is Boss Babe and the boys. I've got all three of my drone soccer.
Awesome.
Yes. Definitely. And we can talk about this. I'm happy to talk about this later with anybody. Kind of creating your grants management plan, getting ready for reporting procedures, and then maybe some type of budgetary controls. It just depends. That's about the grant oversight. Again, depending on some of these things aren't so scary for some of the smaller grants. But since I'm here to help, Pat, let's do a flash sale. All right. So even though we affectionately call me the grant writer, I don't do a lot of grant writing. My top 3 services, I'm going to say, include review and recycling. So that's for agencies that have created grants before, successful or unsuccessful, and they're looking to do a little facelift, a little recycling. And most of them are even coming, for instance, with their own funding streams. A lot of folks come with I know somebody who knows somebody. And so in that case, we create this collaborative scope of work and we review and recycle according to maybe a funding source you've identified or one that's coming out. So I provide the feedback as well as the coaching and just work with you on getting it back out there. Remember, getting it back out those 2 or 3 times, especially if it's been a successful grant. And if you have feedback from the funders, a lot of times funders or program managers, depending on the agency, will provide feedback. They want you to get the grant. You might not have this time, but they want you to get it. So always ask for feedback. The other thing is I feel like there are these mini training little webinars that I do. When I get a client and they have a stakeholder or a partner, we jump on a call together, and I've really been talking about researching grant opportunities and some of the strategies and how-tos for writing winning proposals. Sometimes folks come to me and say, we already have a grant writer. No problem. Have the grant writer get on the phone and we'll talk about depending on where the agency is. So I just wanted to offer this special. Reach out to me. I put my info at dronegrantology.com, 702-660-4490. Put my information already in the chat. I'm here to help. I want to get this amazing work out there to the world. So let's figure out what we need to do. Let's find ways to create paths. For those of you who were at the expo, you saw me running around with my little postcards. Show me the money. I am looking to create a repository with fingers crossed here with 100 funders and or funding models, innovation funders. I've been talking, I had a chance to talk to Jeremiah from the expo about venture capitalists. Yeah, don't worry, they want their money back. I'll tell you, that'll be another session too. But even just reaching out to donors, the unusual suspects, everybody cannot go for that same 1 or 2 pots of money, right? And a lot of you do things that fall out of the realm of what's traditionally been funded. So here's my information.
Awesome.
Reach out to me if you need me. Desi, I'm turning it back over to you for a few questions and to close us out.
Yeah,
What do you
we're
think? If
almost.
anybody else has anything to add in the
Okay.
chat box,
So hold
shoot me
on,
a message.
before you take that down, if anybody wants to do a snapshot of that information, I have put it into the chat several times. Of course, we have Johnny here with us who does all our video editing, so it will be up on the library. And so
Right.
you'll be able to see the replay. It's a few weeks out though. And so I want to circle back one time before you go
Okay.
away. And I know we're running out of time here.
Okay.
But that offer that you offered, I sat here the whole time thinking about the amount of detail and work that goes into it, the research and guidance and direction. Oh my gosh. And you just offered an incredible deal. You think about how much time you have to put into it and just where do you even start? You know, just to have that session with you is phenomenal. Because I know
Yes.
it's overwhelming when you're starting out in that. So awesome. A lot of comments coming in here, a lot of thank yous, great information as always. I got a wow from Marie Louise there, loving the information that you provided. And so helpful, Renee. Great guidance and support from a great presentation today. Woohoo! All right.
Woo!
So
Let's do it. Let's go get the money. Get ready on your Mars. Get ready. Get set.
right?
Let's go. Right?
I love
Let's
it.
do it. Let's figure it out.
I love it. Awesome. Everybody's very, very appreciative of the information that you did. I personally thank you for your time, for coming and sharing with us. I also want to thank Kyle for putting a lot of that input in there, giving some guidance and direction for a lot of people that are wanting to go that way. So thank you, Kyle, for joining us and sharing with us as well. So everybody's really excited and hope you got to take that snapshot because she had her information in there. I did put it in the chat. If anybody if you're on your phone, you can't really save the chat, but if you're on your computer, you can. So that's the lower right hand corner, those three dots. If you open that up, the top little part says save chat, and you will have a wealth of information right there. There was so much great information passed today. So with that, we're going to wrap it up a couple minutes early here. Give us a breather. But Renee, I cannot thank you enough. So thank you very much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to next week. Hey, we have some incredible people coming up. We have Kara Murphy. We have, trying to do a really quick replay, Tyler with Paladin. Oh my gosh, so many great speakers coming up. I'm very excited.
LaQuada's coming up next week.
I was just going to say, and LaQuada's coming next week. Yep. Hi, Sharon. So yeah, super excited. Yeah, a lot of great people coming up. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Miss Jones.
That kind of wraps it up.